Oh, there is Guadeloupe. Okay. Found it. Um, Guadeloupe, happy to be here. And then we were just looking at South Africa, which is, I will eventually figure out how these are sorted. South Africa, probably mid tier. And then Tunisia, right? So
Are these
Tunisia's
not shown?
team, yeah, I don't think I've seen any of these names before. Maybe,
No, none of these sound familiar to me. Is it
maybe,
possible that your flag page was alphabetical by continent?
yeah, I think it is. So here we go. So Tunisia, probably happy to be here. All right, we've gotten through two of the eight zones. I think we're basically done. Where should we go now? Let's go
Uh,
to um
how about Zone 4, Asia and the Middle East?
yeah, sure. Um
So
so
Bangladesh, again, not a country I'm familiar with on, in bridge terms.
no, I do wonder how much interaction Bangladesh and like India have, for example, um, in terms of playing. But I mean, obviously, those are the two countries who sent teams from Asia and the Middle East. Um, because I mean, India does have some relatively good teams that they send to a lot of events. So obviously, Bangladesh is a smaller country, is pretty likely to not
It's a
produce.
shockingly large country, though. Bangladesh is almost 200 million people.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess by land area, it's very tiny. But yeah, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's one of these just shocking things. So we don't think of it as a large country, and it really is. I mean, obviously, India is not a wealthy country, and Bangladesh, I think, is much poorer than India. So I suspect there's a lot less card playing. Um, Although I think like India was probably, way ahead of Bangladesh as a bridge country. But yeah, like there are a lot of people in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Like it might
So,
even be top 10 population. Yeah, it's like 175 million people.
geez, that's an enormous number. Um, yeah. So Babs asks, would I
Yeah, it's actually
consider?
number 8 in the world.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. But yeah, I guess it's true as you say that lower income countries like that would probably have less of a culture for playing, bridge, for example. Um,
Yeah, or you would think like, cards are cheap. That's why bridge became so popular during the Depression, but going to tournaments is expensive. So, there might be like a robust card playing culture, and in India probably maybe even comes out of being occupied by the British, but that doesn't necessarily translate immediately into a tournament culture. It might lay the seeds for it, but is not going to, translate kind of, like linearly or immediately.
right. So Babs asks, does it matter if it's a four-person team or six-person team? Um, I'm not sure for the knockout stage, or not the knockout stage, for like the round robin. I mean, I understand it's like a week-long event, and of course there is going to be some fatigue, but that's going to become more important if you get to the knockout stage. So I think generally in the Swiss, you get all of these breaks, right? Like sure you're still playing the same 14 board sets, but like you get the 14 board set, then you get to reset and play up against a new team and the score starts again at 0-0. So like if you're having a bad set, you can kind of just like tune out and yeah, maybe you sacrifice a couple of VPs to just like relax for the remainder of the set, but you can like mentally reset. Whereas during the knockout event, you have to be focused all the time because like every score carries over between the segments. So I would say probably not so much. I also don't think we've seen a team that has fewer than six people yet, although I could be wrong about that. Um,
We haven't enrolled a few. I'd be surprised if there are any, but also during the round robin, even if you're not getting buys or breaks if you're forehanded, some of your opponents are just going to be fairly weak into the knockout stage. Every deal is going to be fairly tough, fatiguing bridge. So, the event just isn't as tiring by its nature.
yeah, that's a good point as well. So I know you, Craig, were unfamiliar with this player, Rajeshwar Tiwari from India, moving on to the Indian team because during the quiz that I had prepared, remember one of the questions had him. So I mean, like he's ranked very highly on the WBF like leaderboard rankings, and I mean he's obviously a very strong player. I think I've seen him a number of times, so I've seen a couple of the Indian players. I don't really expect this team to make the knockout stage, but I think they will be. They'll put up a good fight in a number of matches. Like I think they're relatively competitive with some of the top teams if they have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah, this seems like a South Africa kind of tier team to me, one that probably beat a couple of top teams, but sustaining that over the entire round robin could be a challenge.
Right, right. Um, okay, I must have passed them. Whereas India, I saw like in or found it orange and green flag. That's what I was looking for. Um, yeah. So I mean, like, I think it's possible they could be contending for the top eight. I actually really quick want to pull up the Bermuda Bowl from 2023 and see where India landed. Let me see if I can get a full ranking of the teams or if the WBF site is just going to not.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect like, approximately one team from this tier to, either qualify for the knockout or come real close.
Right. Okay, so in 2023, India ended up finishing in one, two. I wish these were numbered. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. India finished in 10th. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for getting blitzed by Norway in the round robin stage. Oh, here's a better list. Yeah, I mean, they were very close to making it into the knockout stage. Let me see if I can figure out who their team was. So they had Tiwari playing with Mukherjee, or however you say that. I mean, I think I've seen that partnership before, but they did have some other partnerships that are not on their team this time around.
I was surprised Jaggy wasn't on this team because certainly, over my bridge lifetime, he's been the strongest player in India. Maybe there was a trials and he was just on a losing team or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, India has some pretty good players. I think I am tempted to actually move them into the contending for top eight category.
Really?
I mean, based on
Yeah,
that last, I mean, they finished 10th last time with some returning players. Um,
yeah, I would put them in the Cinderella category personally, but it's your show. And Mukherjee is a fairly common name in India, so there may well be other Mukherjees who played in either American tournaments or other international tournaments.
I think it's just
Possibly
because
Mukherjee.
I think it's just because the guy plays with Tavari. So I'm not convinced I'm pronouncing that right either, but I'm going to continue rolling with it. Um, so yeah, I'll leave him here. Okay, we can move him down here. Possible
Yeah,
Cinderella team.
why don't you leave them under top eight and then see how many teams you
Yeah,
actually have
how
in the
many
top
teams we
eight?
get in the top eight? Yeah, that's a good plan. Um, okay, let's see. This was 2023. Okay, I have the ranking list from 2023 in case we need to reference it later. Um, okay, so that takes care of zone 4, 3 zones down. Um, let's move to. Let's go to the South American zone, Argentina and Brazil.
All right, so who did these countries send? Because there certainly are some really excellent bridge players in both.
Yeah, well, I saw a couple of them in Philly, Pellegrini and Medalla for Argentina, two very excellent players, playing with Bianchetti, and then a couple of names that I'm less familiar with.
Yeah, Poppet, Popovsky, and Rizzo, I'm not familiar with at all. I imagine they all have international experience because Argentina always sends teams to these things.
Yeah, and Argentina obviously did very well in the World Championships last year, which was hosted in Argentina.
Right.
But they do have some top tier players, of course, and yeah, I mean, I think like they're definitely a top eight contender. I I don't know exactly who the favorites are going to be, but I guess looking at last Bermuda Bowl, oh, Argentina didn't even make it to last Bermuda Bowl. It was Brazil and Chile who made it.
Huh. Wow, that feels like a huge result for the Chilean team.
Yeah. So so we don't have anything to go off of based on that, but of course, like I mentioned in the previous World Championships, Argentina performed quite well with a number of these players on the team. I mean, at least Medalla and Bianchetti were on the team. I don't think Pellegrini played for them in the last World Championships, but I mean, I've talked about him before. I played with him a little bit in the past, and he's definitely a very strong player. So,
It's possible that, especially with it being on his home turf, that he had work for the transnational or some of the other events, and that prevented him from playing on the national team.
yeah, that would make sense. Um, okay, found Argentina. Wait, Antarctica has a flag?
Really?
They
Oh yeah,
apparently.
it's just a map of Antarctica.
Yeah, it's just a map of the country. Um, okay, so I'm gonna throw them in top eight contender for now. I think there's a lot more powerhouse teams out there that I don't really want to
Yeah.
put them in the could win category, but we'll see how things look when we get through a few more teams. Um,
I hate to discount any team that has Madala on it because he's quite possibly the best player in the world, but I don't see Argentina even winning a medal. I think the team is just too top heavy that when you start like looking at the average strength of the player versus the average strength of Norway or some of these other really top teams, I think they're just not quite there.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of those other teams in a bit. So let's head over to Brazil. Joao Paulo Campos is on the team. I think he's in the Real Bridge bidding panel. So I think I've read a couple of his. Oh, no, no, no. Villas Boas is in the bidding panel.
Yeah,
Um,
both longtime internationals.
yeah, and so,
No, no, 6 players. There's a playing captain.
right, they do have a playing captain, Marcos Toma. Um, I've seen all of these names before. I mean, Brazil is often a relatively strong contender. Last Bermuda Bowl, they finished in 17th, so they weren't really pushing for the top eight spots the last time. They were, in fact, like 3.5 matches behind the qualifying position at the end of the round robin. So maybe I would expect them to finish somewhere in that vicinity once again. But they do have a lot of players with, as Craig mentions, like substantial international experience, which can help.
Yeah, I think Brazil's one of these countries that I think, since the Chagas and Bronco era, can send a good pair, maybe even two good pairs, but has had a hard time fielding a good entire team.
Yeah.
By
So
good, I mean a team that can really compete for a medal. Obviously those guys are all good, but when you start talking about one of the best three teams in this event, I think Brazil, it's been a long time since they were in that category.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, Chagas, as you say, like that era. I mean, he was one of the greatest players ever, and they just haven't had the same kind of superstars for a while. Okay, so that takes care of South America. Let's turn to. Let's go to the Asia Pacific. So China, Chinese Taipei, and Korea. I guess we'll start with Chinese Taipei here. I'm probably not going to be that familiar with any of these players, although I do recall Chinese Taipei was competitive with some of the other teams. I forget what event we watched them in recently, but I think sometime this year I was covering some sort of international event, and Chinese Taipei They put up a good fight. I don't really expect them to do all that well in the event. I think they're going to be happy to just be playing in the tournament. But I think that they do have a chance to play spoiler for some of the other teams that are hoping to get into the top eight.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of bridge history there. They've had they've been playing in Bermuda Bowl since basically since they started. Once it became a worldwide event and not just a U.S. versus Europe series.
Right, right. And I think mentioning that, oh, we do have Cook Islands. Look at that. Eric was right. I never doubted you for a second. But yeah, as you're saying, like with it used to be mainly like US versus Europe, and in recent years, I mean, like the Chinese teams have really come into power with a bunch of the young players from China winning the most recent spin gold. So I think that has been a relatively recent development, because even as far back or as early as 10 years ago when I was still competing, like there just weren't any good Chinese players that were coming to the NABCs to play in
I mean, not
big
many,
events.
right? Fu and Zhao won the 2006 World Pairs, and I think that was the first really great result for a Chinese pair. And like, yes, obviously it was a controversial win, but nonetheless, they did. They would have been in medal contention regardless. So, I think one of them then, has been in a U.S. national knockout final. Like, there was, I feel like that was kind of China's breakthrough moment on the world stage. But Taiwan. So like originally, the Bermuda Bowl literally was just a U.S. versus Europe series. It was not truly a worldwide event, at all. Like it was just U.S. and Europe until circa 1970, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Under the when CCWA was Southern Precision teams. Chinese Taipei won, I think, a silver medal in one of those. They had some good runs. I think that helped just get interest in the game. Of course, the history of bridge in mainland China is, quite a different story.
Yeah. And I think as with China in many ways, like there is some government sponsorship of a lot of this sort of stuff. So if once they start getting strong teams and players who do show strong results in international events, then the Chinese government and a bunch of like supporting foundations over there do help to promote and grow the players. So I think it does really start to explode once China shows some prowess on the world stage, and so I would expect to see more of them. I know I'm talking about China. We're looking at Chinese Taipei. I don't see their flag, so I can't actually put them on the board. But I guess
I would look for Taiwan. It might be under that, right? I think,
I,
for sporting purposes, they compete as Chinese Taipei, but for flag purposes, it might just be there as Taiwan.
okay, got it. So I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, should I put them in mid tier?
I would put them in happy to be here, honestly.
Okay, that seems reasonable. We'll start there. Did they play in the last Bermuda Bowl? They did not. It was Hong Kong that played. China and Hong Kong. Schiff asks, are we going to be reordering within tiers? I don't plan to. I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm probably going to drag some stuff around once I figure out what teams are competing. Let's go to Korea. So I don't know. Oh, here's a 5-person team from Korea.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, because like normally
Spanish coach.
like you can do, so I've seen 5-person teams quite often if there's a sponsor on the team. Because then you'll kind of rotate, like one pro will play with the sponsor for half and then play with another pro for half. But I wouldn't really have expected Korea to be a sponsored country for bridge. Now I know they performed very well in the the most recent World Championships last year in Argentina. They did make it into the top 8, and I think they had a very close match against Sweden in the knockout stage even. So I mean, they're relatively unknown to me. I don't know any of these players, but I mean, it does seem like Korea has produced a relatively strong group of elite bridge players. Yeah, Yakbeg says they beat Sweden. I didn't remember who won. I just remembered the match was close.
Now, how much overlap is there in the composition of the team?
Oh, this is 4 players. Um,
No,
the
five
the
players.
the playing captain is the same as a player. It's just listed twice.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, so
Wow.
Schiff said Brazil had 5. I see. Um, Probably for the same reason.
Right, I didn't realize that they were duplicating it for playing captain. That's
Yeah.
a little strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is this the same team that made the knockout stage in Argentina?
I don't know. Let me see if I can look that up quickly. If not, I'm not going to bother. What was this called? World Bridge
Uh,
Teams Championships 2024?
it was so much easier when they just called it the Olympiad.
16th World Bridge Games. Is this it? Poland,
That's not
Italy, Switzerland. Yeah, this was it. Yeah, this was definitely it. Results. Okay. Participants. Where is Korea? Um, Korea. Okay, this was the team from the World Bridge. It's the exact same team.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that was above their expectation, but I think that's a team that you can comfortably put in the Cinderella category.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Now
don't, I
it's
don't think they're by default a top 8 contenders just because they did it a year ago.
yeah. So it's actually not the exact same team. They now have a coach, um, which is interesting. Before they did not have a coach, but it is the exact same 4 players on the team, same captain. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with Daniel Puerto, but I would guess he's probably a Spanish expat in Korea who got attached to the team. Would be surprised if he's resident in Spain and just popped over to Denmark, without having an established relationship with the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to push back a little bit on this. I think they are a top 8 contender because it's not just that they qualified for the top 8, but they also won a match in the top 8.
That's true.
Um
Yeah, that's right.
and they were playing four-handed back then as well. Now I know like Asian countries in general tend to be a little bit better about discipline than like some of the Western counterparts. So like of course they're not going to get as tired as you might expect from some of the other teams, but there still is some fatigue. So being able to do that once, I'm gonna leave them here in top 8 contender for now. But we might move them down to Cinderella team depending on what else we see. Um, okay, so then we have China. I think China is definitely a top 8 contender. I don't think they have won anything. Um, so who was the Chinese team or the Chinese pair that just won the spin gold?
It was Lin and I forget who. I
Uh,
think I don't think it's anyone on this squad, but I'm not 100% sure. Spin
got
gold
it.
winner, 25. It was. Sorry, it was Liu, Yinghao Liu, and Yi Chao Chen.
Okay, so they're not on this team. I mean,
Yeah,
not that that really matters. China does have a decent amount of depth at this stage in
yeah, for sure.
fielding teams. Um, I mean, I would expect them to do quite well. Again, I feel like they haven't necessarily performed in Bermuda Bowls or World Championships. Um, so I probably would hesitate to say that they're a team that's likely to win or could win the event, but I think China is a country that is going to be feared and respected by all the players that are competing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
top 8% medal feels right to me.
yeah. So that makes sense. Okay. Obviously, they finished seventh last time in the round robin, so we would expect them to probably either be competing for top eight or make it into the top eight. Um, okay, there's Asia Pacific. Let's while we're down here, let's go through South Pacific Bridge Federation, Australia, and New Zealand. So I took a look the other day. Australia was not the team I expected to see. Um, it is not the Sartaj Hans contingent. It is the other Australian team. Um,
Yeah, I'm only familiar with one pair on this team. I'm not sure if it's Couch or Coots, but Coots and Liam Milne. I know the rest of them I don't.
I have seen the name Phil Markey before and David Wiltshire, but yeah, I don't know Sophie Ashton or Joachim Haffer. Um, I mean, Australia traditionally is a competitive country, but they often don't make it into the knockout stages. I mean, we saw last time at the Bermuda Bowl they finished 16th, just ahead of Brazil in the round robin, and I think sometimes if they do make it into the knockout stages, they often get eliminated early. So I and especially because I think that this might not be the strongest fielded team that they have. Obviously, they defeated the Hans squad at some point along the way, and whatever their country's trials were to get here. So they deserve to be here and have qualified. But like I would expect, especially because the Hans team just won the North American Swiss recently, that they're probably one of the stronger teams that Australia could have fielded, and lacking all of those pairs, Wibbly Edgerton, Hans and Hung, I would expect Australia to be kind of towards the middle of the standings is where I think
Yeah,
they're going to
I'm
end
kind of
up.
curious about the backstory of the squad. So, like Liam Milne is the player on this team who not that I know him super well, but he used to come to the NABCs pretty often. So I got to know him a little bit, and I think he's a really first-rate player. And as far as I know, he has a good relationship with Hung. So I'm a little surprised that, probably as the best player on this team and, one of the best players in the country, why they weren't all on a team together. Like, sometimes it can be because they don't like each other, but I don't think that's an issue here as far as I know. So, just some backstory behind the composition of this team where Australia is sending, you know, some very good players, but definitely not the best team the country could field. I wonder what's going on there.
I'm actually not sure about that, but I mean, it's not as if I talked with Andy Hung about this a lot in Philadelphia, but I did spend a decent amount of time with him while I was up there, and I think he just really likes to play every board. So it's possible that the Hans team really, really just prefers to play four-handed. And in that case, of course, even if Milne and Coots, or however you say it, would be the third
I think
pair
you're
on the
correct.
team, then they might just prefer to only play four-handed. I mean, most events that we see them play, they are four-handed for the Hans team.
Yeah, it has hurt him. So
So yeah, exactly. I mean, they seem to do pretty well with it. And I mean, a lot of people just go because they enjoy playing the game, and especially if you're
yeah,
not being sponsored, as most of the Australian teams aren't,
right.
then it makes a lot of sense to not want to sacrifice any playtime. Um, yeah, Bab says playing four-handed, you keep up the momentum. I mean, I do think in general it probably does hurt them in some of these longer events, and that could be one of the main reasons why we've seen Australia specifically struggle in some of these world championships, is because of the fatigue over the course of a long tournament. But I mean, for them, it's all about having fun. And that was kind of conveyed to me by Andy when we went out one evening, that I mean, he really just loves playing bridge, and he wants to show up and have a good time at these tournaments. Obviously, competing to win, but most importantly, it's just enjoying the game. Um, so,
Australia maybe is not a great example of this, but imagine like you're Argentina and your top two pairs are really good, and your third pair is a little iffy. Like I'm purely just naming the Argentines at random. Please don't like call me out on this. But if like tired Andy Hung is a quarter of an imp per board worse than rested Andy Hung, and the third pair is half an imp per board worse than rested Andy Hung, then it makes sense not to add a third pair. You'll be worse than your best, but better than your hypothetical substitute.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. That sometimes adding a third pair is not effective. Of course, the US forces it on you. So even if USA 1 didn't want to add a third pair, they would have been required to do so.
Yeah. And the US has enough depth that a third pair wasn't going to.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's
Australia, mid tier. New Zealand, here we go. Oh, Wibbly
Yeah,
is competing for New
New Zealand
Zealand.
goes straight up. New Zealand goes straight up into the medal category, right? So where's is Edgerton a New Zealander or is he Australian?
um, I mean, they might just both be members of both federations. I have no idea.
I
But
don't think that's a thing.
I think Edgton is Australian. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so,
Um,
but this is a good team. I mean, I think again, it's not like I'm sort of joking about medal contention, but this is a strong team.
yeah,
You
New
know,
Zealand finished 11th in the last Bermuda Bowl. So they were about half a match out of qualifying position. Um, I mean, they can definitely perform. And I think this is one of those teams that I wouldn't be surprised if they did qualify. But my suspicion is that they're
yeah.
probably not going to be one of the top 8 teams coming in on paper. So I'll put them in the Cinderella team category. Um,
Yeah, that's where I would put them as well.
yeah,
And,
that makes
a
a lot of
team that
sense.
like a team that no one is going to be confident facing, even though yes, we wouldn't put them among the top really elite teams in the event.
Hmm. Yep. Okay, so now I think we have just North America and Europe. Is that where we're at? Okay, let's go through North America, since there's only 3 teams, and then we'll get to all of the European teams. Canada. So we have,
So in Canada's end.
yeah, they have Fred Pollock, they have Jason Feldman, Nick Lecoyer, Danny Miles, Jeff Smith. I don't know Jeff Smith, and Darren Wolpert.
Yeah, I don't know Smith either, but I feel like I've seen his name a few times recently. Nice to see Danny Miles back, friend of the stream and someone who took a lot of years off bridge and apparently has come back playing pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get to compete in the Bermuda Bowl is a big win. So, um, I mean, I
Yeah,
think they're
Jason.
fielding relatively
American.
strong players. Let's see, how did Canada do? They finished 15th in the last Bermuda Bowl. This is probably
I think it
where,
was maybe a pretty decent squad, though. I would take a look.
yeah, let's see. All right, so Canada's team, they had they had Daniel Levy on the team with Pyotr
Very strong player.
Klimovitz. They
Okay.
had Fred Gittleman and Mark Kaplan on the team.
Oh,
Um,
so interesting. Gittleman, even after all those years living in the U.S., I guess never gave up his Canadian bridge citizenship.
and then they also had Jason Feldman and Darren Wolpert. So they do have
I
one
see.
returning pair from that team, but then they had a bunch of other players as well. Um,
Yeah, I think both Feldman and Darren, I think, are really first-rate players. Nick Lecuyer also, obviously playing with a sponsor on his NABC cycle teams, but has done incredibly well. Fred Pollock, I played on a team with him in a national knockout. I don't know, maybe 10ish years ago, and holy cow, did he play well!
hmm.
So, I think that this is a team that I think could probably certainly outperform that 15th place finish from last time.
Yeah, but I probably wouldn't expect them to make it into the top 8. Um, it could happen.
I might or might not, but I wouldn't put them any lower than the Cinderella category.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Feldman's won a bunch of NABCs. Lecuyer and Wolpert have both won national knockouts. Like this is This is a real team.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think they have a lot of very solid players with some good talent there. And aside from the unknown Jeff Smith, I mean, these are all a bunch of players that have solid international experience.
Yeah, Muppet, I think that's right. When you name all three of those teams, I would make Canada a favorite over any one of India, Korea, and Argentina. So, would I make them a favorite
Really?
over? Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, Babs, you're Canadian, so give us the scouting report on Jeff Smith here.
Yeah, tell us about Jeff Smith. All right, influence me. Canada can go up or down based on what you say. No pressure. Jeff Smith was posting on Bridge Winners, but he's never had a serious partnership. I think that is a bit of a problem at this level of competition. That you really do need to have serious partnerships with the people you play with. Otherwise, you're going to get run over in the auctions.
Yeah, and my one of my impressions about Canadian Bridge is that, like, for things like the CNTC, like the teams, I don't know if this is because they're required to or just the way things break down, but it does seem like teams tend to be like regional teams, where like, whether it's a required event or not, like there's one team that's just a bunch of guys from Toronto, one team that's a bunch of guys from, one of the Western provinces. Maybe it's just easier to form teams that way, but it does seem like, Canada has a little more regionality in bridge than the US does.
Hmm. I guess it makes sense if you do prefer to kind of practice in person, that it's such a big country. I mean, you can't just like go from Newfoundland to whatever that province is on the west, Alberta,
BC, Alberta is just
BC,
the
yeah,
yeah.
whatever it is, and like expect that you can meet up with someone over there to play a
I
tournament.
mean, and in fact, as far as I know, like Feldman, I'm not sure where they live. I think his wife was originally from Saskatchewan, but this is basically an all Eastern Canada team. This is like a Toronto Montreal team by the looks of it.
Yeah, so okay, I'll leave them in
Anyway,
Cinderella team for a minute.
yeah, that
I
seems
am
right.
I am shocked that people think okay, you know what, India can move down. Um, I've heard enough. India does get to move down a little bit, but I mean Argentina and South Korea just made the knockout stage of the most recent World Championships. I can't justify putting Canada above them. Uh,
Yeah, there though, it's a very different kind of event where there's a lot of very weak teams. So part of the skill of doing well there is beating up on the truly no hope teams, and there just
yeah,
aren't that many readable.
yeah, that
The
makes sense.
Olympiad, and every country sends a team. There's a lot of Veeps just floating around for someone who's a good fish killer. It's a very different skill.
Yeah, all right. Let's go to USA 2. So, this is Team Rosenthal. They have a sponsor. Rosenthal and Silverstein playing together, Wilenkin and Gina Sar, and Grossack and Rosenberg. So, Zach Grossack just finished second in the spin gold. He was playing with Helgamo as his partner. Um, I mean, man,
This team, like, I was like, one of my closest friends in the world is on it. I'm rooting for them. This team never has good vibes.
I
They won the Vanderbilt in 2022. Obviously, not the same configuration, but several of the same players. For American tournaments, they usually have at least one international pair, or like sometimes Wilenkin and international. Um, this is just a team that I feel like often underperforms how you would think it would do on paper.
Yeah, which does kind of beg the question of maybe they're performing at their right level and everyone else just is overhyped for them. One thing I will
I
note
mean,
is
okay, go on.
Gavin, when he played in 2023 in the Bermuda Bowl, he said that
Mhm.
Rob Barrington was their coach. or captain or whatever it was. And Rob Barrington was did an amazing job at that role. And I think
I have
it's
no doubt. I mean,
underrated.
he's a good presence in a room, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's very underrated having like a strong supporting member of the team that doesn't play, that takes care of all the day to day work, like all of the, you know, arranging
Mhm.
travel and making sure that people show up on time and all of these things, and organizing, like figuring out good restaurants to get food, all of these things that that really help out the team. But
You
you
know,
know,
he's
like
like a fun guy, like, you know, a nice calming presence to settle the team down, you know, because like even whatever team eventually comes out of this with the gold medal, they're gonna have some adversity along the way. You know, they're gonna lose to a bad team, or they're just gonna have some disaster where some partnerships start arguing. So, you know, like just having a captain who's kind of good at like mellowing out, you know, the room when those things happen is a really useful presence, and I think Rob Barrington has that kind of personality.
yeah, so you know, I think that is a huge positive for the team, even just ignoring all of the six team members. So having that
Yeah.
great presence as the captain is going to be very helpful to them. Um,
You know, I think the biggest liability with this team is so Aaron Rosenthal can be a very good player, but he has good days and bad days, you know. And if he hits a bad day, especially during the knockout stage, it's going to be really difficult for this team to overcome that. And I think where this team has underperformed in US events, largely it's been because the sponsor had a bad day. You know, like when you think of like, fine, like Marty Fleischer isn't here, which maybe tells you something, but you know, Andrew Rosenthal, if he's spotting a Marty Fleischer an IMPA board on average, and on his best days he's not, but maybe on average he is, you know, like over 60 boards, that's a lot, even if he's only playing half of them, like 15 imps is a lot to spot a team that's a peer otherwise. Over a 2 day match, now he's spotting a team with no sponsor or a stronger sponsor 30 imps over the course of 120 boards. That's really hard to overcome. So, you know, I think that's just a big thing, like having six strong players versus five, maybe stronger players, but one markedly weaker player, really, as you get into these very long, remutable type matches, really hurts you.
yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So I would probably say that they're going to. Well, I have two U.S. flags. I mean, sorry, I have two U.S. teams and only one flag. So I would probably put them as top eight contender, but I
Yeah,
would
that sounds right to
I
me.
would not put them in the could win category for exactly that reason, that at least one of the knockout matches there's just going to be a bad set, and it's going to be hard to overcome, especially playing against a non-sponsored team.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, you know, if they
Schmeeble, thanks so much
played
for the tier one
one
resub.
team, you know, with a better sponsor, if it was just like all or nothing, sure. But, you know, to win three knockout matches in a row, probably on average, two of which are teams without sponsors, now you're really an underdog. You know, if you're only 30% to win each of those two matches, well, now you're 9% to make it into the, you know, to make it through both of them. That's just too hard to overcome.
Right. It is worth noting that both U.S. teams made the knockout stage of the last Bermuda Bowl, and I think both U.S. teams made the knockouts of the last World Championship as well.
I
I'm
mean,
less
I
certain on
would.
that one.
This is a team that if it doesn't make the knockout, they're going to go home deeply disappointed, and I think they'll be correct too.
Sure. Okay, USA won. Here we go. This is the team that we want to talk about,
Yeah,
right? So I actually played against Eddie Wold in Philadelphia. He was playing on his mixed team with Susan Zhang. Um,
so did I during the mixed border match.
okay. So we saw the four-handed team, Kaplan, Kolesnik, Grossack, and Wold, end up.
They steamrolled the event.
Yeah, I mean, they just completely dominated the U.S. Open trials, and we just compared them with a team that we expect to make top eight. So they've added on a third pair because they were required to, and they chose Bathurst and Hurd, who is both of those
Bob
guys are.
Morris. Bob Morris is Eddie Wold's life partner.
Ah, okay, okay, got it. Did not know that, but that's good to know. So that's probably the reason that they chose him as captain.
And a strong bridge player in his own right. Not in the same category, of course, but a good player.
Yeah, so Bathurst and Hurd getting added to the team, I mean, it was just kind of necessary. And obviously, I don't think they're dragging the team down, but these are guys who have a ton of international experience. They're also on the younger side, as are most of the other members of the team outside of Eddie Wold. Um, and so I think that's going to contribute to the team dynamic and build kind of a positive atmosphere. Bathurst, of course, I think one of the nicest players ever in the entire
Yeah.
bridge world. Um, and he and Hurd have played on the Fleischer team a lot. So they have a ton of experience playing up against some of the other strongest pairs in the world in these big team events. Um, so,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team with no sponsor. Like, I'm still a little bit unfamiliar with the Grossack Wold partnership, but obviously they did quite well making it through. I think there were a couple of hiccups there. Kaplan and Klesnik, I know they talk a lot of bridge together and play a decent amount and have trained really hard for this. This is a team that I could easily see winning the thing. And I,
Yeah, in fact, Berg and Bathurst both have silver medals. In 2011 in Veldhoven, they were not playing together at the time, but they did get a second in a Bermuda Bowl.
yeah, got it. So, quite a lot of
Yeah,
experience on the team as well.
yeah, a newlywed and Finn Kolesnik's brother-in-law now. He's married to Emma Kolesnik.
Right. Yep. That wedding happened like a month or two ago. So,
Yeah, she'll be for Philadelphia. So Mazel Tov.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a team. It's a very strong team, and I think Eddie Wold, I believe, won at least one Bermuda Wall in the '70s, possibly more. Just one of these guys who, like, I think a very strong player, maybe not. The strongest, like when you try to think about like really great technical players, but just someone who's a winner, and I think a very good practical player. So the Wold Grossack partnership, even though they're not super practiced, probably they're not going to have a lot of disasters either. I think their lack of partnership experience, there are a couple of guys where that's not going to be a liability the way it might be for, two more scientific guys who, kind of struggle to be on the same wavelength.
Yeah. So, I will mention one thing because I don't think I had ever played against Eddie. I mean, maybe I had in the past, but I just didn't remember. But I was kind of carefully paying attention to him at the table because I knew I was going to have to do commentary for the thing. And he's a tiny guy, but he has a real commanding presence at the table.
Yeah.
It just he kind of exerted this pressure. It felt when I was playing against him, like every decision, it seemed as if like he was like daring me to get the wrong decision or make the wrong choice. And I don't think I've felt that from a lot of players. Maybe Zia as well at the table has this kind of it's like it's just like this presence. Like you can tell that he's ready to pounce if you do anything wrong. At least that's what it felt like to me. So I was really impressed with that when I sat against him.
I think that's right. I think I haven't played a ton of boards against him either, but there's like just this sense that he's hyper aware of what's happening at the table.
Yeah, yeah. So I I was very happy I got to play against him because I wanted to make sure that I could do him justice when I was commentating. And and yeah, I was very impressed with. I mean, he had like zero decisions to make, so it was kind of irrelevant. I didn't get to see anything fancy from him, but I could just tell. Like there was a hand I was going down three vulnerable and spade partial, and he was just like trying to get me down four, and I was like, man, you should just take your win, Eddie. But but yeah. Anyway, so
I was wrong. He was third in the 70s Bloom in the 2001 transnational, but has not. I'm not sure he's ever actually played for Bermuda Ball, and he's not had a medal in Bermuda Ball competition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the European Bridge
Is
League.
this
So
our first good win team?
yeah, this was so I put them up here. I don't have two US flags, so we'll just have to imagine that there's a USA 2 sitting down here in the top 8 contenders. But yeah, I think USA 1 definitely has a chance to win. Um, but I do also think that, like, for a lot of these players, they haven't played in the Bermuda Bowl before. So I there's going to be a lot of work put on the coach or the captain.
Mhm.
Um, and so hopefully they can calm the nerves of all the players, and they'll, I mean, obviously all of them have played in high level competitions before, but it's still different to play in a world championships. Um, okay, let's take a look at Europe. Um, I guess let's start. Let me take a look back at last Bermuda Bowl and see which European teams are on here. There's Ireland, Belgium. No Ireland this time, but Belgium's on here. So Belgium was the lowest ranking team from Europe in the last Bermuda Bowl, or that's still competing. Um, and I think it was this exact team. These are all names that I recognize from.
That is pretty impressive for a very small country in a really great bridge region like Europe to qualify twice in a row.
Yeah. I think I remember being relatively impressed with DeHay and DeHay playing together. Um, the last time we saw them, so I don't really expect this team to be competing for the top 8, but I think they'll probably end somewhere around where they finished last time, which was in the middle of the standings. They were 12th last time. So let's find Belgium. I think I don't really have much to say about them. I mean, I know we've seen them before, but
Yeah, I feel like this is you know, a team that just getting here is a pretty big accomplishment. I think, if they finish above the midpoint, they should be happy with their performance.
yeah, and last time they did. I mean, they finished 12th out of 24. Um, so they were, of course, a full match and a little bit out of 8th place, but they were still competing in the event. Um, well, all of the other European teams are towards the top of the standing. So I guess let's just go in order now. Denmark. So Denmark, we have Dennis Bilda playing with Martin Schultz. That is going to be the sponsored pair on the team, I think. Um,
No, Marty Schultz is now Chris Lincoln's partner for the current cycle. He's an expert who I believe was recommended by Boya Brogland. He's a good player.
oh, okay. Um, so then I guess they're just six-handed, no sponsor. Um, They have Christian Lehrman and Michael Asgard. I think they've played together quite a bit. Christian Lehrman, a younger player from Denmark. I think he's done well
Very
in
young,
some of the junior events recently.
yeah, become a regular NABC visitor, strong player.
Yeah, and then Kasper Kano and Playdrup Meister. Andreas Playdrup Meister. Hopefully, I don't have to
Yep.
learn how to pronounce all of these names, but I'll work on it. Um, so, I mean, this is a strong team, right? I don't know what
Yeah.
else to say other than that. They didn't qualify for last Bermuda Bowl, so they weren't even here. Um, so we don't have that sort of placement to work off of. I feel like they've always been competitive for top 8, but I do think I've rarely seen them in the knockout stages. So I would probably think that they're maybe in the Cinderella category, is where I might end up
Yeah,
placing them.
I think that feels right. A team that has some very good players, but you know, like obviously Dennis Bilda is one of the world's really, really great players, but the sort of the spread between the best player in this team and the weakest is greater than it is on, like let's say USA one.
Right, right. Okay, where is Denmark? Help. I don't think they have a flag on here.
I bet they do.
I would have too, but I've scrolled back and forth like 3 times. What does it look like? Yeah, I mean it's just like red with a white plus sign. Scroll down. Oh, I found it. Found it. Thank you, Gandolius. Yes. Found it. Denmark. Okay. Cinderella team, possibly. Yeah, I mean, pitting them up against a
Yeah,
team like Canada, who again has like some pretty solid players, I think that's probably about the right
yeah.
category.
And
Um,
I would, in my view, those two teams are almost exactly peers too. So that seems about right.
okay, let's move to England. So we have David Gold, Ben Hanley Pritchard, Ben Norden, Andrew Robson, Stefano Tomasini, and Tom Townsend. Lots of players with a ton of international experience. Um, I feel like I haven't seen this team do all that much recently. The English team with like David Gold and Andrew Robson and a bunch of these other players, but they have a lot of talent, of course. So I I don't know. Let's see. Where did England finish in the last Bermuda? Did they not make it to the last Bermuda Bowl? They did not make it to the last Bermuda Bowl. Man,
So they
Europe's
did
a
win a
hard
medal.
region, huh?
Yeah, here is. They did win a medal in world competition not that long ago. I'm trying to look up exactly when it was.
Gotcha. Oh, Gandolius is so right. Denmark has home field advantage. Uh, for that reason, I'm going to stick them in top 8 contender. At least for now. I might move them. But I do think it matters. Um,
Yeah, longer ago than I thought. Gold and Townsend were on the team in 2008 that won a silver medal. That was the
okay.
Olympiad.
Okay. I do feel like England has traditionally performed quite well and generally been um, knocking at the door of top 8 for all these competitions. So I'm going to put them in top 8 contender. I don't think I would put them as one of the favorites to win, but
No,
um,
I think. Yeah, I guess right. Like, I think I would put them, you know, slightly ahead of these Cinderella teams, but I think I would also put them kind of toward the lower end of the top eight contender category.
yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's head back over France. So we get to see Thomas Bassis and Cedric Lorenzini playing together, Leo and Jerome Rambeau, and Francischetti and Combescure are the final pair on that team. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good team.
This is a good team. So last time in the Bermuda Bowl, France wasn't in last time either. Man, Europe is a really hard region, huh? Um,
I mean, this is a team, for various reasons. I'm going to be rooting for other people than this team, but there's no arguing it's a strong squad.
yeah. Um, yeah, for sure. This is probably France's best team that they've put together. I know that they do kind of rotate partnerships on some of these top teams in the French region, and these feel like possibly 3 of the best partnerships in France that have been gathered together to play. So I would definitely expect them to make top 8. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I could see them winning, but I think I'm going to be a little bit conservative in my estimation here, and just put them in the top 8 contender. I feel like I'm running out of top 8 contenders. Well, I think top 8 contender can extend to more than 8 teams, but
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, this is a team that, like, I'd be surprised if they don't make the knockout. Are they, like, truly a world championship contender? Maybe, but things would need to break well for them, I think.
I'm moving Argentina down.
Yeah, I like as we're seeing this category get stronger and stronger, I agree with that.
I cannot. There's no way I'm moving South Korea down. I'm just letting you know they're staying there. But yeah, I think Argentina and India I accept at this point that they're just not as strong as some of these other teams up here. Um, but
Yeah, when you start to see some of these, like a team like this French team that has, partnerships like this on it, and we're, sitting here more or less convinced that they can't win a gold medal, it puts the event in perspective.
right, yeah, exactly. Okay, moving on to the next European squad, we have Israel. We have Zamir Toledano. Excellent partnership. They've just been winning a bunch of match point events in NABCs for a while. We have Patton and Bierman.
I think they won a national Swiss as well.
Yeah, I think so too. And then Herbst and Herbst. This is a very strong team. Israel was in the last Bermuda Bowl. They finished fifth in the round robin stage. I don't remember what happened from there, but man, I mean, this is a team that could win. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, could win feels like a bold statement. This is the kind of team that, yeah, like it's hard to count them out at any stage in the event. I agree with that. Like I feel like, this is more of like a bronze medal kind of team than a gold or silver medal kind of team.
Sure, sure. Okay, that's a fair assessment. Um, I do feel like those two top partnerships from Israel, though, the younger guys, have really been on a tear recently. I feel like I see their name in everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, those guys are very good.
so
And the Herps, I believe, also have, they took some time off. I'm not sure what their personal story was, but I believe they did win a medal in world competition back in the day when they were playing.
right. So I mean, all three partnerships very strong. I mean, of course, they're competing up against the world's best, but I,
Actually, wrong.
man,
Even takes time off. Yeah, I know. It's just like it sort of feels on paper that this is a team that like how could they win a medal, but it's just one of these teams that if they win match after match after match, we'll be like, yeah, of course they did. Those guys are really good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, I'll stick him in the top eight contender category for now. Um, Moving on to Italy. Oh God. Okay. You know what? We don't even need to talk about this. These guys could easily win. Where is Italy? Come on. Where's your found it? Okay. Moving on, or should we talk about the Italian? I mean, so they have Mano and DeFranco, Donati and Precario, Cementa and Versace. Um, they finished
Yeah.
second in the last year's World Championships with this exact squad. They lost to Poland there. Um, and I mean, these have just been players that have been crushing it in every competition. I think, who was it? Was it Donati that played in the under 31 for whatever reason and
Yeah, I
ended
think
up
that's
winning?
I think because it was in Italy, right? It was
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
just
yeah. It was
Canadian.
like in Italy, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, I can like take a weekend off to just like go win an event." Um, so yeah, I mean these guys. I don't know what to say about them. I haven't played against anyone other than Versace and I think Cementa, but I've seen them play an awful lot. I think a lot of the Italians end up playing in uh, the Bridge Champ Padden events, the OCBL Paddens that I do
Mhm.
commentary for, and they're very strong players. So I think
Yeah,
this team could
isn't
definitely win.
isn't DeFranco one of the players that Bridge Champ sponsors for those events?
Yeah, I think so. Um,
The one thing about this team is, we've said this a bunch of times in the US that when we see this team play in the NABCs, that it feels like Cement is making a decent number more mistakes than his peers in some of these other teams. So, like, still a world-class expert. Obviously, we're not talking, someone who's like really a laggard, but a team like this versus a team that has six players where someone is making more mistakes than his peers, maybe all of a sudden it becomes a little harder for this team to get into medal contention.
It's true. I have kind of wondered about that, and I think the conclusion that I've come to is that um, Samantha might not be the best card player, but I have to imagine that it's being made up in a bunch of other areas that are a lot less visible. Like, you know,
Yeah, no, that's fair.
one thing that I think is really, really hard to observe, both as like a commentator or spectator, or just like someone, even if you're competing against someone, is like who's pulling all the weight on defense.
Hmm.
Because defensive signaling is so important, and you can look at a signal and be like, I interpret it as this, but coming up with the right signal to make at every opportunity, I mean, that's something that really matters because you're defending 50% of the time. So even if your declare play skills are a little bit lacking, but you end up like getting your partner to make the right defensive plays like all the time, that is so valuable as a player in a partnership. And so it's very possible that Samantha carries that amount of weight in his partnership, um, which I think does matter.
Yeah,
But
that's fair. There are, like we're not thinking about the good things people do. We're just seeing the bad things
well,
and criticizing them.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think we try and look at all of the good things. Let's not smear campaign ourselves on this,
Oh,
but
you know what I'm saying.
but like, yeah, I
The
mean,
stakes are more memorable. Yeah.
it is true that a lot of people do kind of zone in and focus on mistakes, and I try not to do that. I try and point out things that I think are either worth learning from or things that I think are done really well, and hopefully I get a little bit of both. Um, but yeah, it is. I do recall making comments about that in the past, so we'll have to see. But I do think that the Italian team, of course, I mean, they barely didn't win against Poland in the silver
Yeah.
gold medal game last World Championship, so they are definitely a contender to win the entire thing. Um, Speaking of contender to win the entire thing, we have Norway. Well, they have some new players on the team. So Helgamo and Grudy, Bakke and Brogland. We've seen those partnerships before. And now they have a new partnership of Tundal and Kvan Graven, um, who,
Kundal, I think we have seen before. Von Graven, I don't believe I have.
yeah, I'm very unfamiliar with these players, but obviously, if they've made the Norway's national team, then they're a very strong partnership. So, you
Oh,
know, last Bermuda Bowl, Norway almost won the round robin stage by a full match over Switzerland. Um, Gandolius, there we go, our Norwegian viewers coming through. Tundal used to play with Grotheim, or Grotheim, however you pronounce that.
right. Whatever happened to him? So he and Terry Obb, had one of these really long time, top level partnerships. I think they won at least one world championship, and we have seen Obb play sometime in the last few years, but they don't seem to be mainstays of the team anymore.
I mean, he was on the last Bermuda Bowl team. Was
Oh, was he?
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew we'd seen him relatively recently, so 2 years ago. Okay.
right. So and I think I've seen him playing in like the Spin Gold or Vanderbilt or other things. So he's still actively playing, but I guess he just didn't make the team this time. Um, but
Yeah,
I
I think
mean,
we have to put them in the win category.
yeah, I mean, Norway just has to be one of those teams now. If it's another one of these red things with a plus in the middle, I'll find it.
Yeah, it's a blue cross with a smaller white cross lining it.
Oh, it's literally the first one. Um,
Oh,
okay. Gandolia says Norway's team is selected. There are no trials. Got it.
interesting.
Um, so is that done based on like a committee, or is it done based on some sort of like ranking system internally in the country, like prestige points won? You always tend to vote for the home team. I mean, that's a fair way to think about it. Sweden and Switzerland are the last two teams. So, Sweden. Uh, well, I played against some of these people in Philadelphia. I played against Mickelson and whoever she was playing with. I don't know if it
I
was.
think she was probably playing with Perola Cullen. I know they do play a decent amount.
Yeah, they're a
That would
solid
be
partnership.
two rooms in the Strumino marker established partnerships. But yeah, I think Marion and Perola play a decent amount of bridge together.
Hmm. Yeah. I just didn't know who her partner was, but yeah, so we played against them. It was I think we ended up winning the match by like 2 imps or something, but they played very well at our table at the very least. And of course the Sweden team always is very competitive. I
Yeah.
I feel like you were talking a little bit earlier about teams. There just aren't a ton of weak teams in the Bermuda Bowl, and so for some of the other world championships, it's really important to beat up on all of the weaker teams. But here, you don't get that opportunity. This feels like one of those teams that I think would do a good job of beating up on weaker teams, and for that reason, I think I
Yeah.
might discount them a little bit from being a winning contender. But I think they're definitely a top 8 contender. This squad for sure. So
Yeah. I think the rim sets especially are really good at demolishing weak pairs.
right, that's exactly who I was thinking of because they're the players who just like really capitalize on mistakes from opponents. Like they induce mistakes by just kind of like bidding up to a lot of relatively thin games, and then they will take advantage of any sort of error that happens on defense against you. So, these are definitely 2 of the 4 top Rimsteads in the family. You think the parents aren't good at bridge, but yes, it is a very impressive bridge playing family overall. So I'll throw them in top 8 contender. We have one more team to talk about, and oh boy, this is this is gonna be quite the squad. So Switzerland, of course, won the Bermuda Bowl last time in 2023. They finished. They took the bronze medal in last World Championships. I mean, this is always
Yeah.
just a very strong team,
I will
and
not be rooting for them, but they're going to be tough to beat.
yeah, so they're definitely in contention for possibly winning the whole thing. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I actually really
Yeah.
like Brink now, having like chatted with him after our match in
Oh, yeah.
Philadelphia.
You know, I
Um,
like several players in this team, but nonetheless, I won't be rooting for them.
yeah. Um, yeah, no, Brink was really cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah, Brink and Driver are both good guys. I mean, as is Kalita. Klukovsky, I don't really know at all. Um, he seems fine. Like Kalita, I think actually is a good guy. Brink and Driver, I know are, you know,
yeah, and right, so you'll be rooting for them then.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this is the list that I've come up with then. So Taiwan is Chinese Taipei. How do I feel about this list?
So I think the happy to be here category you've nailed.
Great, perfect. Yep. Um, I only have 7 out of the top 8. No, Babs, because could win also has to make the top 8. So I have 11
Right.
teams. No, 12 teams
Yeah,
actually.
competing for 8 knockout spots. That feels about right.
Right. And remember, USA 2 is here in the top 8 contender category.
Wait,
So
I
there's
only see
actually
11. Where
12
are you getting 12?
teams. Um,
Oh, right. Why don't you give what's the most ridiculous flag you can think of to stand in for USA 2? Antarctica. Perfect.
Antarctica. Okay, hold
Yeah,
on.
Antarctica's no USA 2.
This is the where it's the 51st state, Antarctica. Yeah, so okay, USA 2. Um I mean, this makes sense to me. I think there are some teams in the top eight contender that I would probably expect to be a little bit stronger than others. But regardless, I do think that all of these teams, I would not be surprised if any of these teams made it into the top eight at this point. Like a year ago, I would have said Korea, of course. I mean, that's ridiculous, but they just did it
Yeah,
last year. So,
I think they're probably a little bit overseeded here, but I don't know. I would trust your judgment. You watch them play.
I mean, this is the exact same team that beat this exact Swedish team.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the Swedish team was a little bit different, but it was mostly the same in a long knockout match. So, if South Korea doesn't deserve to be here, maybe Sweden doesn't either.
Right.
I, I mean, I think inside this category, maybe France and England. No, France and Israel would probably be my two picks for teams that I would absolutely expect to make it out. And then, like England, USA 2, China, maybe Denmark, South Korea, and Sweden are towards the bottom of the list, but still.
And you sort of figure of the eight teams you put in the Cinderella mid categories, it's highly likely that one of them is going to make it out also.
Yeah, it could easily be that way. Right? Like, all of the teams have the same chance going in. You do play the round
Yeah,
robin,
someone
and
always
so
or someone has the event where of the four teams you put in the happy to be here category, they get 78 out of 80, and all of a sudden they've got a really big head start over some, teams that beat up on them a little less.
yeah, exactly. Um, I do think that a bit of a danger, though, is like what happened to India last time, right? Because so in the last Bermuda Bowl, I don't
Mhm.
know when this match happened between India and Norway, but Norway won 20-0 on the VP scale, and India ended up being uh, six VPs out of eighth place. So they didn't even need to win the match. All they needed was to
Yeah.
not get completely
Yes, water.
blitzed. And so, and I mean, taking a look at India's results against the other top teams, they beat Switzerland, they beat USA 2, they lost to Poland by a bit, they destroyed Israel, lost to Italy, beat China, lost to USA 1, destroyed Netherlands. So they did quite well against all of the other top teams. It was really just that one big loss that kept them out. So,
Yeah. Although, I sort of look at these events as, fine, you're playing like from the scoreboard's point of view, a bunch of discrete matches, but really it's a playthrough. So I would say, like, what was India's expectation against the aggregate of all the top teams, and what did they actually get? The fact that part of that happened to be a blitz against Norway, it's not necessarily the right way to look at it. It's just like, you know, how well did they do across the peers to Norway?
yeah. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, Gandolia says Norway versus Switzerland is round one. I've heard that so many times. How do you know? How do you know
Oh,
what
the
round
draw's
one
not.
is?
They posted the draw.
Where?
I forget, but I saw it earlier today, and if I find it again, I'll link to it. Hang on. We have the draw round by round through the round robin.
Oh, okay. Well, this is exciting. Um,
So presumably no buys since there's exactly 24 teams.
are these teams ranked, or is this just a randomly assigned number?
That is interesting because it does look like there's some pretty
Right,
good teams at the top and some less good teams at the bottom. I don't
right.
know. Is New Zealand over Switzerland? It's possible that they're in, WBF point order or something. I suspect it was random draw though.
Yeah, but why is it that Chinese Taipei, Bangladesh, Guadeloupe, and Tunisia,
Right.
who are all
Or,
our four bottom teams, are the ones at the very bottom? That doesn't.
yeah,
Anyway, um,
it could be WBF placing points or master points or something.
it could be. Yeah.
Although India number, it's possible. I don't know. Italy wouldn't be 13 though, behind India and USA 2 because USA 2 has so many people who are new to this level.
Right. Yeah. I'm. Anyway. Um.
I mean, it's arbitrary anyway. It's a round robin.
Right. But I mean, it does matter in terms of who plays who when, because like having where is it, Switzerland against Norway in the first match doesn't make a lot of sense. You would much rather
Yeah, I
have
mean, sometimes.
those teams play in the end.
Well, sometimes you want teams to play against each other early if there's some personal relationship between them.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know whether there is or not, but it's possible that they did want to tweak it a little bit to, avoid any, um, you know, not that anyone would dump, I don't think, in this event, but any appearance that dumping was possible. Although Sweden's playing
Hey,
Norway
hey.
around
Hey.
23, they can wave to each other, so.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Um, I guess maybe it does make some sense to have the teams that are expected to qualify based on some sort of. So I mean, like you need a ranking if you want to run these sorts of round robins. You do really want to have a ranking, and I think the point is that teams who are ranked higher probably should play against each other earlier because the you want the teams that are ranked highly to all make it. At least that's the theory. And so if you play against each them in the last rounds, then it might be like a fight to the death, which would be very exciting for spectators, but not so exciting for the teams themselves. And if you can play up against the stronger teams earlier, then you'll have a better sense of what you need to get done in the last few rounds to make it. Um,
Well, there's
Maybe.
also something else which just occurred to me. So if you look at rounds 21, 22, and 23, you have what we thought were the weakest teams in the event largely playing each other those rounds. And that actually makes sense. Like, you don't want people on the bubble of contending playing against no-hoper teams in the very last round where the no-hoper teams are just phoning it in and just want to get on the plane.
Yeah. So actually, that is exactly what's happening. So, I mean, something has been done here, and maybe it's listed in the conditions of contest, but I'm not exactly sure. But
Yeah,
yeah, it does look like some sort of intelligence has been used in assigning these
yeah, it
matchups.
really does.
Um,
Curious what the criteria are, but yeah, it does look like they made some effort to um, to set the pairings in some way that the event will be as formful as possible.